Hello there, welcome once again to Living on Purpose. My name is Fola Daniel Speaks, also known as Fola Daniel Speaks. Today, I want to talk to you about helping those who made mistakes. Help those who made mistakes. Now, that may sound like something that a number of people don't want to hear. What do you mean we should help those who have made mistakes? Why are we going to help them? Or why should we help them? One of the reasons you're supposed to help those who made mistakes is that when you look at your own life and you analyze how you got to where you are today, you'll remember that you got here because of some of the mistakes that you made that somebody else forgave. If you made mistakes and people did not forgive you in the past, you probably wouldn't be here. For those of you who are bosses who have risen through the ranks over the years, you understand that the reason you are here in the first place is that somebody gave you a second chance, and maybe a third chance, and maybe even a fourth chance. And some of you, you can't even count how many chances you were given for you to get to where you are today. So if somebody gave you multiple chances for you to be able to get to where you are today, you then understand how important it is to give other people a chance. When I say help those who make mistakes, I'm simply saying don't shock people out because of one mistake. I remember the story of a gentleman who made a very costly mistake in the organization where he was working. He knew that it was over, or at least he thought that it was over for him. He was expecting to be fired. When the boss found out about it, the boss asked him to get back to work. And shocked, he asked his boss, "Aren't you going to fire me?" And the boss said to him, "I just spent that amount of money training you. I'm not going to allow anybody else have it for free." Let's say, for example, the mistake that that young man made cost about $1 million. I don't know the exact figure, but assuming that it cost $1 million. So what the boss was saying in essence is that I just spent $1 million training you. I'm not going to give it away for free to another person who didn't spend $1 million training you, and they will just gain everything that you learned from that mistake. One of the things we're supposed to do is that when people make mistakes, we need to bring them together, walk them through the process, ask them questions, and see that they understand the value of the mistakes that they have made, and then use the same process to make them become better people. There are times when people make mistakes, maybe because they are under pressure. Sometimes people make mistakes simply because they don't know and nobody has taught them. If that is the case, then send them for training. Even if it is not a workplace training, it could be a mistake that somebody made maybe outside of the office, a mistake that somebody made maybe as a family member. It could be a mistake that somebody made in a non-profit organization. Give people a second chance. When you give people a second chance, you realize that you are building their self-confidence, you are building their skill set, you're helping them to become better people. If they make a mistake and you don't help them again, you're simply throwing them away and you're allowing them to become bad people. Some of us understand what it means to be given a second chance when you remember the kind of mistakes that you made and your parents forgave repeatedly. Sometimes you may think that your parents didn't have a choice, but some of them had a choice. They could disown you. They can say, "Go away, I don't want you anymore." But they stuck with you. They held on to you. They kept training and retraining you. So if that has happened to you, you would understand the value of giving a child a second chance when that child makes a mistake. If you were a student and you made a mistake and a teacher does not give up on you, you will understand the value of not giving up on other people if you get an opportunity to teach other students. So we need to come to terms with the fact that one of the best ways to develop other people is to give them a second chance. People make mistakes. You have made mistakes before, and you're going to also make more mistakes. They are also going to make their own mistakes. Give people a second chance. Now, the reason we're saying give them a second chance is because when they also get to a level, it becomes easier for them to empathize with other people. If somebody has empathized with you before, it will be easier for you to empathize with other people. But when people are difficult or hard on you, you may want to do the same for those coming behind you. but I strongly appeal against doing that. So let people make their mistakes, let them become better, let them learn, and you'd realize that at the end of the day, the most valuable people in your organizations are people that have made mistakes before that you gave a second chance. If you don't give them a second chance and they go away, they will take the valuable lessons from those mistakes elsewhere. You also need to understand that if you shut people out just because of one mistake, sometimes you are destroying their lives completely. It is oftentimes not the mistakes that people make that destroys them. It is what happens after the mistakes have been made. Someone can make a mistake. Let's say, for example, maybe somebody getting into teenage pregnancy, a big mistake. Most parents are devastated when they hear that. They don't want it to happen. And it is a shameful thing for some people in some parts of the world. But the way they handle it is always more important than a teenage daughter getting pregnant. Is this something that you want for your child? Absolutely not. But do you solve the problem by chasing your daughter out of the house? That's not a good way to solve the problem. You're creating more problems. Now you may think that you are not to be blamed. You may think that you have helped or trained that child in a responsible manner, but when you chase the child out of your own house, you have created more problems for that child. That child would learn to survive by any means possible. That child can begin to think about the only way to survive is to do anything necessary, even if it is not morally right or legally right. At that point in time, the only thing that matters to that child is survival, not what is right or what is wrong. So people can make mistakes, but we also need to check how we treat them, how we help them, how we empathize after they have made their mistakes. Am I saying that we should pamper those who have made mistakes? Not at all. But can we encourage them and even use the mistakes as teaching points for them? That's what I'm talking about. People can make mistakes, but we can take the mistakes and turn them to learning points or lessons for the people who have made mistakes to help them become better. When people around you make mistakes, discipline them if you have to, but teach them and help them to become better. Make sure they pick one or two lessons that will not serve mainly as punitive measures, but as teaching lessons for them. That's the most important thing to do when people make mistakes. Thank you. Please head on now to www.youtube.com/Fola Daniel Speaks. Thank you.